Okay, guys, and we're back with another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest. I'm Seth from the Lonely Solo Podcast, and this is episode 76 of my side quest. Now, in this episode, we're going to be talking about what's next for Leon Edwards. Now, at the time of recording this episode, we're a few days removed from UFC London, where, of course, Leon Edwards got dominated and then submitted by not Jack Della, by Sean Brady in the fourth round. Now, I'm going to look at the rankings and see what would be some good next fights for Leon Edwards. Now, Leon Edwards in this fight, and the same in the Bilal fight, didn't take a ton of damage. So, in theory, there's no reason why he couldn't be back in the octagon in a few months' time. We know how these big name fighters like to be now, and they like to sort of take so much time after a loss to recover, even though you've not really even been in a war and you've just been dominated by grapplers and not taking a ton of damage, but whatever, right? Now, Leon Edwards is an interesting fighter where, and I can relate to him in a lot of ways where he's a fighter that is comfortable just about doing enough to win and comfortable being in close decision losses. I wouldn't say close decision losses, but he's comfortable. Yeah, like I said, he's comfortable doing just about enough to win. In the fights against Bilal and Sean Brady, he definitely felt gun shy. But I wouldn't say he's more gun shy than usual. Leon Edwards isn't typically a pressure fighter. You know, we saw some good pressure fighting performances, like in the Nate Diaz but the Nate Diaz was an interesting fight because Leon Edwards probably had no fear of Nate Diaz's power. You know, until, Nate Diaz rocked him. But, that's part of the game, unfortunately. But when Leon Edwards is facing guys like Bilal and Sean Brady, he's got something to fear. It's probably not going to be the power, the hands in the power in the hands, but the wrestling. He's not going to be willing to sit down and unleash a combo when they could slip a punch and take him down and hold him down the entire round. And if they don't hold him down, maybe he forces a scramble, but then he guesses out the next round. You know? So Leon Edwards is an interesting fighter, and I think he kind of just needs to stop facing wrestlers as well. Obviously, it's MMA, and you've got to be good in all aspects of the game. I liked a lot of Leon Edwards' defensive grappling that we saw throughout the fight, but against Sean Brady. But when it comes to grappling, it takes a couple of mistakes. He advances positions, gets you into the choke, and that's it. You know, you can be defending all the moves great for nearly 4 rounds, and then he catches you. Or not catches you, but advances and then catches you, right? Very difficult. Very difficult position to be in for Leon Edwards, coming off back-to-back losses now. He definitely falls outside the top 5 now, because Sean Brady was ranked number 5 and beat him decisively. So, who does Leon Edwards fight next? That's the real question. Now, there's some interesting matchups here, because Leon Edwards, he is a striker. He's not a grappler. He's not going to go for takedowns. He's a striker, like I said. Now, I'm looking at guys 4 and below. So, Jack Della is number 4. Now, that fight was originally supposed to happen. That fight still could happen. So, say Jack Della loses to Bilal, which could happen. Edwards v Jack Della would be a great match. A great fight to see. Both guys are strikers. Jack Della is a pressure fighter. He's gonna, he's got more weapons, in my opinion. He's got more tools. He throws more variety of punches, whereas Leon Edwards, kicks, crosses. He's not a super well varied striker, but the rest of the fighters he's been fighting recently, he's not gonna be able to open up against these guys and really show us all he's got in his bag. But so Leon Edwards v Jack Della would be an interesting matchup. And could definitely happen in the future, but immediately I don't think that's going to happen because Jack Della is facing Bilal, and if Jack Della wins, then that fight's not happening. If Jack Della beats Bilal, then of course he's not going to fight Leon Edwards. But if he loses, then maybe, right? Buckley, a great fight. Buckley's a fighter who's going to push the pace. Probably, he's not as wrestle heavy as guys like Sean Brady and Bilal, but purely off his athleticism and his speed and his power, I don't think Buckley would be afraid of trying to get the takedowns against Leon Edwards. But Buckley, in his recent fights, he's been striking with these guys. He knocked out Wonderboy. Just pressured him, put him up against the cage, bow. right on the chin, knocked him out. Buckley could be a very interesting matchup and will probably be my pick. In fact, Buckley wouldn't be my pick. This next guy would be my pick. It would be Ian Garry. Ian Garry would be my pick for Leon Edwards' next fight. Now, this would have been an amazing fight to happen in UFC London. The UFC don't want to put us on like that. They don't want to put us... They don't want to... They can't let us get in our bag like that. Like, Leon Edwards and Ian Garry would have been great for UFC London. Would have been absolutely amazing. Would have been... I mean, they probably sold out the O2 regardless, but they would have sold it out again. Right, now Ian Garry's a guy who fills out at 170 for sure. Leon Edwards by no means feels like a small 170 fighter though. Don't get it twisted. Doesn't feel small at all. But Ian Garry is a guy who's quite big. He's well-rounded and young and hungry. And this could be a good sort of passing of the torch moment if Ian Garry was to win. But both guys in their fights are capable of being passive, which could mean a potential snooze fest in this fight. But the position that both guys are in, they're both coming off losses. I doubt they'd want to be passive. In theory, you'd think they'd want to come out and, really go for it and, really go for it and get a win, get a dominant win and get their names back in title contention, which is what both guys want. Both guys want the title. Both guys want to be back in there, fighting for the title, right? That's what they both want. So, yeah, I think Ian Garry v. Leon Edwards would be a great fight, and I think it's one that could very easily be made because both guys lost their last fight. Obviously, Ian Garry lost his last fight, back end of last year, so he's had a good amount of time to recover, and Leon Edwards didn't take a huge amount of damage in this fight, so should be able to get back in there. I would love to see this fight around summer. I'd love to see this fight in the summer, but yeah, that's it from me. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, episode 76. And I'm out. Peace.